Looking for real stories that lift you up? Welcome to Inspire and Impact, the podcast where purpose meets perseverance. This is where transformation begins and your story continues.
Welcome to Inspire and Impact podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rosenstein. Today I have the honor of interviewing Hilary Powers. Hilary, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor and a pleasure. Good seeing you.
Likewise. Can you share with the audience a little bit about yourself so they know who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Hilary Momberger Powers. I live in Florida, and I am a keynote speaker and also a life coach and a motivational speaker. I am originally from Los Angeles. I'm the voice of Sally and Charlie Brown Peanuts. That's my first job at 5 years old. And I've had a whirlwind, exciting, fun, painful, growthful, stretching, interesting life to this point. And yeah, that's kind of who I am.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Obviously most people in the audience are not going to know who you really are. You kind of describe to us about your journey that led you to the phrase, no longer leading with your wound.
Yes. Yeah, that's my keynote. I spent so much of my life, I didn't even know that I was leading with my wound. I kept thinking, oh my God, this is my life. It happens to me. What's wrong with me? I guess I'm not good enough. I guess I did something wrong. God was mad at me. And, I kept choosing the same things over and over. And I was expecting some miraculous difference. And what ended up happening is I kept repeating my past became my future constantly until I started realizing that maybe what I was doing is I wasn't reacting to the day I was in. I was reacting to all these old hurts. I have this automatic response of, oh my God, it's going to happen again. It reminds me of, it feels like, it looks like, it acts like. So I was in all these senses, all my major senses, not in the day I'm in, but if someone would say to me, I'm really busy right now. And instead of hearing, wow, this person maybe has a life and they're busy, maybe they're at work, maybe they're, taking care of their kids. What I heard was what I felt at a young age is I'm not good enough to participate or pay attention to. So I wasn't really reacting on what they were saying. I was going back to an old hurt, and I was in that reactive state constantly. And I call that my trauma wound, which just keeps going around and around. And, one day, I started thinking maybe the confusion starting in here, not out here. Maybe I'm the controller of what keeps happening. It's not happening to me. I'm creating it to be my experience. And I don't know if that it's kind of a deep answer, but I didn't realize that everything in my life was as a result of the way I was reacting. And, when you get to that place in your life, when you start taking responsibility for everything in your life, maybe there's a common denominator, me. So if all these events keep happening and I'm in every single event, maybe I need to take responsibility that maybe I set the ball rolling. Maybe, what they were saying is just where they were at. But my reaction was the same reaction I did when I was 5 and 6 years old. I would sulk or I'd cry or I would hurt myself or I would hate myself or I'd make up these huge stories in my head about who I really was or how they felt about me. And then I react in the day I'm in. And people are just like, whoa, what, why'd you delete my number? Why did you hang up on me? Why'd you block me? Why are you telling me to go to hell? All I said was, I'm at work. And then I create the same outcome, which is I'm alone. I feel scared. I feel unlovable. I feel unwanted. And then I create the next scenario based on those feelings. For me, I had to hit bottom on me. I spent, I call it living in my rearview mirror. I live in my rearview mirror. I'm not even looking at what's in front of me. I'm focusing on what happened to me. And I'm saying, it's going to happen again. Oh my God, they're going to leave me. They hate me. I'm not going to get this job. I'm going to get fired. And see, when you're living in your head, there's no God, because I am God, because I'm calling all the shots, all the feelings, all the thoughts, all the actions. And I create the exact situation. So what? I can be, see, I knew it. I knew it. There's my power. When I'm a victim, it's a very powerful, powerless position I put myself into, because there's no way out. There's no happiness. There's no joy. There's no freedom. It's the same thing over and over, but I get to be right. And, I needed to, and I'm only going to speak in I statements because I don't know what other people need to do, but this is my experience. And as a result of me saying, maybe I'm the problem, yes, things happen to me. Yes, I grew up in an ecosystem that was filled with fear. So I'll give you a little bit about my childhood. I grew up in LA, and, my mother was a Jackie Gleason girl. If you guys don't know who that is, it was a comedian in New York, and he used to have this show, and she was the girl that would say, and here's Jackie. She was really beautiful. And that was her dream, was to become an actress and famous. Back in those days, in the 40s, my grandfather was the assistant district attorney of New York City, and no daughter of his was going to be one of those floozy girls, actresses were like, oh. And so my grandfather put the foot down and said, you're going to become a teacher or a mother. Now, when you tell that to a damaged narcissist, and that was her character, she was borderline narcissist, and you tell that to somebody like that, they're not going to listen. So she found a way to get her needs met, just like we all do. So what she did is she got married to my father, who in her mind was beneath her because she's a narcissist, and everybody's beneath you when you're a narcissist. And she married my dad, who was a great guy. And she had 7 children. Now, she had 7 kids because that's kind of what you were supposed to do back in the day, is have kids, be a mother, be a teacher. And, through these children, when she got pregnant, she got a lot of attention. She got a lot of, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Look at how, meanwhile, she's eating, speed because she wants to keep her weight down. She's got to look good at all costs. And she goes ahead and she has all these kids, and she gets all this love and appreciation from it. She never wanted children, but she liked what she got from being pregnant. And she liked the praise. She liked the adoration. And, she had all these kids, and she got this great idea that if she couldn't be famous, she was going to make her kids famous. And so at 5 years old, my mom took us to an agent. We got an agent immediately because we looked like, like little card cut kids. We all looked the same. We looked like the Kennedy family, very pretty on the outside. But little do you know what's going on the inside. And unfortunately, our world is really based on, if you look good, you must feel good. That's what I call my funnel on backwards. It's actually an inside job, not an outside job. So she took us to, and my first audition was to be a cartoon character, Sally Brown, in the Charlie Brown Peanuts. And I got the job immediately. I didn't do anything. I was just a kid who looked like Shirley Temple, and I just was lucky. Maybe. To every coin, there's another side. It looked like it was a great experience, but unfortunately, I had a stage mother, and it was all about performance, make money. In order for me to be loved, I had to perform. I had to get her something. That love was earned. It wasn't given. I talk about in my No Longer Leading with Your Wound is the trauma cycle. I look at it like a triangle of your body, mind, spirit. But you also have I'm in the middle. So there's also 3 ways that you react. When something happens, I call it a traumatic event, like trauma. Think of the word trauma as like a tremor, like something gets jolted. I think that I'm supposed to have this happy childhood, but something happens where I have to perform and it jolts me outside of my normal, I'm just a happy kid. Now I'm always afraid. So I start putting this fear. Everything's driven by my fear. I got to get this commercial. My brothers and sisters are going to starve. My mother said, if I didn't make it, do you want them to starve, Hilary? I'm like 6 years old. I'm thinking, no, I don't want my brothers to be on the street. She said, we're going to be homeless if you don't get this job. So at 6 and 7 years old, I'm in this trauma state of trauma is like the reptilian brain, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, live or die, good or bad. Am I going to die today? What do I got to do to make sure I survive? And so there's 3 characteristics that there's actually 4, but I focus on the 3 because they're simple. I'm either a people pleaser because that keeps me alive. It keeps me functioning, keeps the body of the family together. Or I become a loner, or I become a controller. The loner is the kid that sits on his phone all day long and doesn't talk to anybody or reads a book or hides or never, where is he? Dinner's on the table. I don't know. He's the loner. He's the leaver. He's a disappearer. Or there's the controller. See a lot of controllers in school, the bully, the one who has to have everything. He has to be in charge. And he's not doing it because he's a shit kid. He's doing it because something is going on that's creating him to always be in this, I got to have everything okay. So it's usually inside the house, as I say. It's like the calls are coming from inside the house, that scary movie, not out there, it's inside the house. Here you have the kid that's either got to control everything, is the bully, calls people names, it is in charge, leads the pack because he feels safe. That's how he feels safe. Or the loner that goes and hides and doesn't show up and doesn't go to school, doesn't participate. That's going inside of yourself because it feels safe. Or the people pleaser that's always the good little girl, the little boy, or I'll do it. I'm okay. I'll take care of you, mommy. The one that becomes the codependent, takes care of all the mom if she's okay, or the sister or the brother. And so it's not even I don't even know I'm doing this. All I know is I'm terrified. I'm terrified of not being loved. I'm terrified of not being fed. I'm terrified of my safety. So it's the only way I can control in my mind, I think, my outsides to make me feel safe on the inside. So I become this little push button girl that I book all the commercials. I did like 100 commercials. I was the voice of Sally. I was Tiny Tears, Baby Beans, Pull the String on the back of the doll, Mattel dolls, and Buddy Greco's favorite Valentines. I, did print ads, and I kept producing thinking, are you happy now, mommy? Now, are you happy? Now, are you happy? But like I said, I had this alcoholic, and now she's a drinker too. So I don't know what kind of mood she's going to be in when she gets up. I feel for people who are adult children of alcoholics, and there's so many of them. There's so many fractured homes where mom and dad get a divorce, and then the little boy has to become dad. He becomes the man of the family. That's not a natural state. That's a state of, oh my God, if I don't do this, the family's going to fall apart. I'm not going to get love. I don't even know this stuff. So here are my original wounds. These are the wounds that drive me in the day I'm in. I call it my Uber driver. I get in the car and I say, I want to get an incredible job making a couple $100,000 a year. Well, my Uber driver looks at my past and it says, oh, you don't think you're worth anything. I'm taking you to, Del Taco. You have to be working there today. Or I'm going to have you do whatever, something that doesn't match my desires because my original fear says I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't take the right classes. I didn't go to the right college. It talks to me. And that Uber driver takes me to all these places. You see these girls who say, oh my God, I broke up with this guy. And then all of a sudden I found I got the same guy. I said, of course, your wound is driving you. I'm not wounded. I'm fine. I don't listen to that stuff, or I'm not going to pay attention. Oh, it happened. Yeah, whatever. I keep trying to stuff it deep down in my internal basement. This shit keeps coming up, girl, guy. You're wondering, oh my God, I got another woman who all she does is steal my money. It's like, you created it. When you tell somebody, if it's in your life, it's your life. Meaning, if it's happening to you, you are responsible for it. But when you're a victim, which I became, I was beaten, we weren't fed, it seemed like we had stuff because we got the horses and the house. But behind the door of my home, my mother was up drinking all night. There was a lot of beatings. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of screaming. So my normal thing is, I think that's family. So I go out and say, I'm going to get a really nice partner, but he's everything I grew up with. Oh my God, he's just like my mother. He's just like my father. Why is this happening to me, victim? Little do I know that I'm the one who set the ball rolling, because I never addressed these trauma wounds. And those are the wounds that drive me in the day I'm in. So by the time I got to 12 and 13, when my voice changed and I no longer wanted to produce, I started to become the loner. I started running away from home. I started disappearing. I'm still in this trauma state. I don't even know that I'm in a trauma response. I just think, I got to get out of this house. I got to get out of here. I got to survive. She's killing me. This family's killing me. And there was so much craziness going on. My mother and father broke up. My mother ended up meeting a drug dealer in Los Angeles who brought crystal meth into California in 1973. He used to call himself a chemist. Hello, Breaking Bad right there. I'm like, a chemist? You're a drug dealer, But so, of course, when I'm in my late teens, who do you think I become? I just recreate my past into my present. So I'm eating speed. I'm doing drugs. I'm selling drugs. And I think to myself, why am I doing this? What's wrong with me? Because a victim. It's hard. It's a really hard pill to swallow, to say that, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for my life, because that means I have to change. And that takes work and it's exhausting. But it's more exhausting staying in fear. It's so taxing on my health, my mind, my friends, my family, because I'm always telling the same story. Oh my God, what happened now? We call them the drama mamas, the drama boys, they always got the same story. And they just think this is my life, So by the time I was 12 and 13, I was running away from home like this, good girl turned bad. And now I'm feeling good about that, because I feel power in being a bad child. I'm calling the shots. I'm no longer being controlled. But little do I know that all my fears are controlling every single aspect of my life. All my wounds, my past wounds that I say, oh, it's okay, it happened to me. I start placing myself in positions. I get raped. I get beat up. I don't talk about it because, people say to me, weren't you that character? Weren't you in that commercial? And I go, nope, not me. Because I think I should just push it down, ignore it, ignore the problem. It'll go away. If you ever seen like a Petri dish and you put a top on it, you put an organism, let's say a fungus on it, it grows and grows. I have to expose it for this organism to die. But I don't want to. I don't want to deal with it. I want it to just go away. Just go away. It's, we're not talking about that. How many people that go, whatever, that was my ex. I don't even want to deal with him. You're going to pick him in about 10 minutes. He's just going to have a different car, a different house, a different look, or the woman. Oh, it's the same. I thought I got a new wife. You just picked up your old one. But it wasn't your old wife. You were picking your old parents, your mother, your father, your abuser, the one who molested you, the one who took advantage of you. You're picking the same energy because you haven't exposed it, made peace with it, been okay. This is a part of life. I always say iron sharpens iron, but we don't want that. I want the easier, softer way. I just want to have a good time. But I keep having the same thing over and over. As a kid, I was raised Catholic, and I always say I'm a recovering Catholic. Catholic was like an aerobics class. Get up, sit down, kneel, pray, get the bread, run out of that church, say the things that I don't even know what I'm saying. And so I would pray. My mother would say, you need to pray. So I'd say, all right, God, please kill my mother and father. Let me live at my best friend Duran's house. And I wake up in the morning and Santa didn't deliver. So there can't be a God. So my mind tells me, you know what? I'm alone. I got to figure this life on my own. So then I stuff more and stuff more because now I don't want to expose my crazy thoughts. They're not crazy thoughts. I'm just refurbishing. I'm ruminating my old hurts and angers and disappointment. And I think it's just going to go away because I want that magical when I win the lottery, when I get that job, when I get over there. But there is still back there. Until I get in the day I'm in and just go, you know what? It's been a shit show and it's my shit show. And maybe, just maybe, I keep creating my life over and over. So if I can create my life over and over to be a shit show, can I create my life to be something different that takes me to walk away from being the victim? And so I would pray to this God until, finally there's no God. They didn't deliver me my Santa Claus list. We pray and we think, God's not listening to me. No, God's waiting till you surrender being God, and then he'll help you out. But I can't conceive that because I don't think there is a God. So I got to be it. I have to be the God of my life. And so by the time I was 21 years old, I had, I ended up getting sober. But from there, I went at 14, I got arrested, 15 for assault and battery. I hit my mother back. It became a very violent, tumultuous relationship with my mother. She arrested me for assault and battery. I went to juvenile hall. I left there and I went to a foster home. And the foster home, there was a lot of inappropriateness. And it was interesting. I used to say, God, why did I all of a sudden go to this house where there's sexual, and, there was stuff going on. And then I had to look at my old life. My stepfather was sleeping with my sister, and that was okay. So it's energetically, I was just going from one frying pan to another because I wasn't healing. I was running. There's a huge difference. Even though we think I'm getting out of that, I'm going to go move. You're going to take you with you, babe. So at this point, I left the foster home and I did what any 15, 16-year-old could do. I lived in a warehouse in Compton and I sold pots and pans on the side of the highway at a 9th grade education. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to be around long. I don't care. And I'm eating drugs because now I've switched from being the loner to the controller. I'm in charge of my life. No one's going to tell me what to do. My middle name was Defiant, and that was the way it was going to be. At least I had power. I had power to destroy my life, and no one was going to tell me to do it. No one was going to control me. But little did I know that all my wounds were controlling every single aspect, like I said. And by the time 21 years old, I had an overdose and I went into a grand mal seizure and I looked up to the sky and I said, God, if you're there, please don't let me die. Now I wanted to live. The controller says, it's okay. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to party my way to hell. I was already living in hell. I don't know. I was partying my way there. And I ended up, my grandma stopped. And I would love to say I walked through the parted the sea, with Moses, and we got to the other side, but it didn't happen. But what did happen is a little crack happened in my egg. And I saw some light I had never been exposed to because I wasn't surrendered enough to experience it. Because when you're in control, there's no surrender. When you're large and in charge, you're running your life and I see a lot of that. I work with a lot of people and I see that they're like, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I said, have you paused for a moment and caught your breath and asked God to come into that answer? No, because he won't give it to me. Oh, so you are still God. And you wonder why your life is exactly the same. It's like Groundhog Day over and over. So over the years, you got to hit bottom to look up. And I've had so many bottoms because my ego rebuilds itself in the day I'm in sometimes. I don't even know it. I get on the 95, dude, and I am like large and in charge. I'm like, I'm off with your head. I would think that person should be dead. They shouldn't be on the road. I'm like calling all the shots. And I feel it in my system now. Now it's like my stomach hurts. Like I'm so in touch with who I am that I know that when I get into that place, I take a breath. I do my little things. I call it my stabilizing in order for me to, the only way I can remove the trauma is to be another person or act different, but I can't even remove it. I have to accept it. I have to expose it. And I have to allow it to just be there and know it's always going to be there. I'm not going to become somebody else. I'm going to just become the best Hilary that I was actually designed to be. But I keep loading all these old hurts, angers, and disappointments and resentments and all this stuff on top of me. And I'm trying to have a good life. It's, taking a shower and then throwing dirt on yourself and wondering why you look like shit. But didn't I throw the dirt on me? Yeah. So it's been a long journey, but so I ended up getting sober at 21 years old. And when you stabilize yourself and in order to feel safe, when you're in kindergarten, Daniel, remember when they would say, are you tired? Do you need a nap? Or do you need something to eat? Would you like to go play outside? Why don't you get some fresh air? All these little simple things are the key to life. My seeing, my tasting, my touching, my hearing, and my smelling, my 5 senses, I need to stabilize. So when I stopped drinking, that was the first of my stabilization. Everything kind of calmed down. I stopped getting loaded. I practiced being honest, like all these little things. How you doing? I would walk around and they go, how you feeling today? Great. Because I put a face on it. No one's going to know if you knew how I felt or who I was. You'd hate me too. So I'm not going to let you put this mask on my face. And I see people all day long in masks. Oh, it's a great day. Everything's great. I'm like, yeah, sure it is, dude. I can imagine what's going on in your mind, because that's my defense. That's my armor. I wear this armor to keep you all away because I don't know what to do with all this stuff inside of me. So when I got to that place, I started to stabilize. I started to eat better. I started to drink water. That's like a huge thing. It sounds so silly, but water is 75% water in our system or fluids. It stabilized me because when you're in your head and you're stressed, your body is just short circuiting all day long. Physically, your mitochondria get screwed up. Your bones ache. Your head hurts. When I don't drink enough water, my brain hurts because it's drying out. I need to get sustenance. So I started eating better, drinking better. I slowed down a little bit. I slept better. So I started addressing my senses. I started seeing different things when I get stressed out. Instead of going into a rage, I would go, I'm going to go outside and look at the ocean. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to go touch a tree. I'm going to go put my feet in the grass. Like I started stabilizing. And once you get to that state, it can happen like that. But when I'm large and in charge, I can't see myself through the forest. I go, got to get out of here. It's like that frenetic energy. And some people don't wear it on the outside, but it's just grinding them on the inside, AKA cancer, AKA, ulcers, blood disorders. I'm disrupting everything. And it all starts from my mind. My mind is hurt. My mind holds all my memories. all my hurts, all my thoughts, all my past, everything. And so I'm in this mind powered is coming from a hurt spot. So when I'm in that state, I create hurt throughout my whole body. We're like such an incredible system. And so when I started in my 20s, I went back to high school. It was very humiliating. It was like humbling. It was like, okay, I'm 28 years old. I'm getting my high school diploma. Awesome. But I just did it one day at a time. And so when I got to stabilize, I started getting into a community and I started surrounding myself with like-minded people, like other people who were trying to heal instead of people who are running away from their lives or shopping or gambling or having sex or trying to not feel. I started surrounding myself with people that actually wanted a new experience in life. Like I did. I was so hungry for a new experience. But I didn't know how to get there. I just knew that if I did little things, I started feeling better in the day that I was in. Surrounded myself and I get a sense of belonging. I get this community. Maybe it's in, temple or church or PTA or the Boys and Girls Club, or you join a racket club or something where you're outside of this. And so when I stabilize, I can't emerge into that. Otherwise, I'm in a state of frantic. You may not see it on the outside, but inside, I'm feeling that way. And once I get into that community and people start saying, hey, where are you? Oh, you showed up. This is awesome. It's great seeing you. What's going on? Do you want to go get a bite after this? I start gaining some self-esteem, some self-worth. But if I'm not stabilized, I can't achieve any of this stuff. And we live in a world where we want to get to the end. We want to be CEOs today. I don't want to be a mail girl. I want to run the company. But see, that's that childlike, that spirit, that wounded little girl in me that wants to know, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We're going to the beach. No, we're on the highway. Are we there yet? Because a kid, I have no sense of time. I don't know time, space, reality. I don't know any of this stuff. I just know I need to feel better now. And so I start feeling a little bit better. And then once I start getting some worth, I can step into productive life. Like I can get a job. I can show up on time. And I started practicing all these things to the point where then I can help somebody else. Because now I have new information. I have new experiences. I have new feelings. I say that a thought, if my thought is from a hurt place, all men are mean, all women are cheaters. That's a hurt mind. So then it becomes a feeling. Oh, I guess I'll never get anywhere. No one will want me. And it's usually a negative one. It's never, I am incredible. I wish it was. Then we wouldn't have so many therapists. And then it becomes an action. I react on it. I don't return phone calls. I call them a liar. They haven't even done anything. I go, oh, I know who you are. And then that becomes my character. Oh, she doesn't show up. She's not reliable. She's not thoughtful. She's great, but she doesn't follow through. She's she means well, but she can't do well. So when I go to my mind, I don't go to my mind alone. I started praying to this God I do not understand. I don't see, but I sometimes can feel it. Like when good things happen, I feel good. I'm like, oh, wow, that was odd. Or God, I say. And I start praying to this God and I go, dude, I don't even, and I have a conversation because I'm trying to build a relationship. If I were to call you, Daniel, I wouldn't just all of a sudden blurt everything out and say, hey, dude, how you doing? How's your day going? I start communicating. So I'd say, God, I don't know if you're here, but can you help me? I'm so stressed out today. Can you please quiet my mind? And then all of a sudden I see a butterfly or I hear a kid laugh. It turns my cheek. I start turning my attention. It's, oh, that feels good. And so I started praying to this God I didn't understand. And I wasn't saying, can you please, make me 5'10", because I'm only 5'4". That was like, if I were taller, my life would be better. If I were, skinnier, if I had more money, if I started praying to this God I didn't understand. And I'd say, God, can you please help me just be happy right now? And then all of a sudden I'd hear the kid laugh. Or all of a sudden my friend would call and say, hey, what's going on? You want to go, how are you? All of a sudden my attention, or all of a sudden my boss said, hey, you did a really great job. Thanks for showing up today. And wow, there's my God shot. And so I kept praying to this power I don't understand. Today I call it God for the sake of the word, and I deepened my relationship because now I trust this relationship. I'm no longer going to my scared mind or my hurt little girl because I've stabilized myself. It comes up like that. Trauma resurfaces like that. It's never going to go away. But now I've learned a lot of tools. And so over the years, I ended up going back. I went to art school and because I'm an artist and I thought maybe I'll do that for a living. That's profitable. And then I was working on a movie, poster, and I was for a movie. And I thought, I want to go back into film, but I'm too vulnerable to be an actress because I had gone back at 21 and someone Me Too'd me and asked me to do some stuff. And I was like, okay, because I was afraid to say no. My little girl shut down. People pleaser kicked in. Okay. Do you like me now? Do you love me now? Do you love me now? No. And I ended up going to UCLA Film School and I became a script supervisor. And I just, in the last year and a half, I hung the hat up after 32 years. And, I had an incredible career where I worked on over 300 movies and TV shows. And it's great because it's like joining the circus. It was perfect for being a traumatized person. You only work for 3 months, you get really close and then you leave. So perfect for my trauma side. Really, and you meet new people. And I've worked on some incredible, from Fast and Furious to West Wing to, Hangover 3 to commercials I've done a lot of stuff and worked with some great directors. And it was an incredible experience, a lot of hard stuff. And in between, my father killed himself. My brother died of AIDS, and my sister an overdose, and my mother eventually died of alcoholism on the street. And, that's a totally different story. When I left home, as a kid, I had broken my arm and my mother wouldn't take me to the doctor. She said I was too expensive and another mouth to feed. It'll heal on its own. And that's an old memory, an old trauma wound that I stuck deep in the basement. I went to go visit her when I was about 19 years old. I would go back hoping that maybe this time I'll have a good relationship with Mom. I kept going back, trying to make sense of what happened to me. And, it's just an immediate response. I want my mother to love me. But I didn't understand that my mother was mentally ill. I took it very personal. I'm a wounded child from an abusive relationship. So I keep thinking if I do this right, then you'll love me. Do you love me now? Do you love me now? There's my old wound. And she pulled my hair and I took her arm and I snapped it. I broke it. And I immediately, I'm not saying this, I'm not proud of it. It's just a part of my life that I have made peace with. My response was what I heard. I'm not going to take you to the doctor. You're too expensive, Mom. It'll heal on its own. And that I'm not proud of that at all, but this is what happens when they hurt people. So I started understanding more about people who are molested, or they do it to others because they're just in a reactive state. They're they're redoing their life, trying to get a different result. I'm not making it okay. I'm just understanding it from a different position instead of a victim of it. After that, I made amends in my behavior. I put her into 8 rehabs, hoping that she would get sober. And unfortunately, one day she called me I worked at a place called Promises, which was one of the biggest rehabs in California in the 80s and 90s. And I think it's still in existence, but my friend Richie started it and I became the house mother. house manager of the first rehab, IOP-ish in California. And I was overseeing 6 women, and I was like 24 years old, and I was like in charge. I was like, oh my God, I have to be a grown-up. I want to be the kid. And put my mother into this rehab. And one day she got kicked out, and she said, all these people are assholes. They did it to me. And I said, Mom, you're the victim. I can't do this anymore. And I said, I love you, but I need to take care of myself. And I just made a decision in that moment that I was going to start reparenting Hilary. I was going to be the mom that I never had. So I started eating better. I was bulimic at the time, and I started addressing my issues with that. And, and one day I got a phone call that said she was dead. And I thought in my mind that all my hurt would go away now that she's dead. How many people say, as soon as that bastard dies, I'll be happy. I still got all these hurt memories in my mind that I can't connect to here because they're so separated. I'm still got to protect myself. I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. And that anger drove me. It got me jobs. It had me move. I moved 65 times by the time I was 21 years old. When in doubt, I packed. There's my runner side. There's my controller, my loner side. And finally, I had a mentor about 25 years ago when she passed. He said to me, Hilary, until you forgive this woman, you're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over. And I thought, no way, she's dead. I'll be fine. And, I didn't mourn as much for I miss Mom. I mourned for never having the experience I saw so many other children have with their family. And that was sad. I got to grieve the unknown. And I gave myself, this is where the reparenting came in. I allowed myself to be sad instead of, oh, it'll go away. Oh, I'll get over it. We dismiss so much stuff, but it keeps resurfacing. It's that petri dish. I expose it, I close it back up. I expose it, close it back up. It's still going to grow. You got to just let it. That's the let it go. Expose it. Uncover it, discard that shit. So he said to me, let's go over all the stuff that you did to your mother in return. I go, she deserved it. We always got that. Of course I'm going to break her arms. Of course I'm going to lie to her and steal from her. She stole money from me. She left me on the freeway. She, poor me, And he said to me, and the day that you give up being a victim, you're not going to have a life. You're going to be lived. You're going to be lived over and over. And I didn't get that he wasn't talking about my outside life. He was talking about my inside life. I was going to have this, I have a life inside of me. I have a lot of peace. I know how to stop in the moment I'm in and go, you know what? Okay, shit's happening. It's my turn in the barrel. Okay, it'll pass. That's a real inside life that I cherish. There's no tomorrow. But so in LA, I lived in Santa Monica. And, you always say you keep your enemies close. So I took my mother's ashes and I put them at the ocean near my house. Keep her there. I'm in control. And to get to the beach, you have to go underneath PCH. And there's like a tunnel underneath the highway. And so I had written a bunch of stuff and I wrote all my resentments towards my mom. And then I got to look at the character I built based on my resentments. Yeah, she was mean, but whatever. I became meaner. She called me names, but I thought of other names to call her. I was mirroring who she was. And I was a victim? Wow, I was no better than she was. And I started realizing that my mom had a disease called alcoholism, which is only treated in the day you're in when you start with abstinence and then you start with self-searching. And then you go to a God that you're no longer going to be. You're going to go to something greater than you, bigger than you, that actually made you. The one I go to that source. But she didn't want that. She wanted to be large and in charge until it killed her. And so I started looking at her like a person instead of my perpetrator, the one that hurt me. And I started to realize that my mom probably had this really tortured mind. How sad. She was molested by her father. Man, that must have been really painful. She was beaten up by my dad. That must have been really hurtful. She felt like she was having to have a life that she didn't want. That must have been, I started having some empathy that I get why you hurt me. It wasn't a personal thing. She didn't set out and say, I'm going to go fuck up my 7 kids and blow my life up. She was in a reactive, traumatic state on a daily basis, and she couldn't heal herself. And she couldn't bring herself to surrender to allow someone else to help her heal. And that must have been really painful. So all of a sudden, I fell in love with my mother sitting on that beach that day. And I thought, Mom, I'm so sorry you hurt. I love you. I hope you're happy now. I hope you're pain-free now. I hope your mind's not torturing you anymore. And there was a sense of relief that I had been holding on to for years, because anger was my energy, man. Fuck you, Mom. I'm not going to be like you. Yet I became everything she was. And then I started looking at the wonderful things she gave me. I'll tell you, when you're 7 and you're left on a freeway, you figure it out. I learned how to walk home. That was a characteristic I built. So all of a sudden, I'm like, man, I am so resilient. I am so strong. I am so courageous. I have a huge heart for people that are hurting because I know what it feels like. Thank you, Mom. I wouldn't be this woman. You gave me my looks. You gave me my brains. You gave me my sass. I have a wicked sense of humor. I do stand up because it comes from pain, right? I mean, I started using everything and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I can be of help to these people. Now, because I was stabilized, that productivity, now I can be of service. From then on, my life blew up. And so I was sitting on the beach at the ocean and I turned around to go walk back underneath the tunnel. And someone in the hour and a half that I was sitting there talking to God, Mom, had painted in gold spray paint on the wall, "It's never too late to have a happy childhood." And I thought, wow, now I can see my life differently. I had a great childhood. I'm so grateful for every shit thing I went through. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be a child star. I'm so grateful to be able to say that I lived homeless. I know what it feels like to be homeless. I know what it feels like to sell my body for rent. I know what it's like. I have such a hope chest of so many great things that happened to me, but I couldn't get there until I made a decision. I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to be a victor. And today I'm in that state. So the last 10, 15 years have been so interesting, extraordinary. I've moved. I've done some great things. I've had a lot of pain, a lot of grief, but that's life. That's life. That's my soup. I've gotten so many cool things to put in my soup. And now I'm serving it to others. And it's helping them grow. It's helping them live. It's helping them feel sound. And I get to do that. How lucky am I to have all that shit happen to me? I'm so blessed. So there's a nutshell right there, Daniel.
Thank you so much for sharing all that, Hilary. And I wanted to give you the space to do that because you're such a great communicator. And I think a lot of people in the audience probably resonate with, different parts of your story or an entire story. It was very powerful. And thank you so much for being so brave and sharing all of this. When I first met you, I saw a woman with a beautiful smile. And you told me you were you played the character Sally Brown,
Yeah.
commercial. And my first judgment of you was somebody who, beautiful, very successful. I had no idea
Right.
that entire story. I kind of judged a book by its cover. And a lot
100%.
of people do, they see something, you were in Hollywood or whatever, and you must have been so successful, and you're beautiful, this man. And they don't know, you said the whole,
Right.
the the whole story behind it. And he said, what's going on inside your mind versus the outer reality. And I think it's amazing. You've been through so much, a lot more than a lot of other people. So I've talked to hundreds of people. And the fact that you're able to come on the other side and have a positive outlook, I think is amazing, because there's still a lot of people that are able to do that. They're still stuck in that victim mode, and they're still alcoholics, they said, their whole life. And the fact that you're able to turn it around, I think is absolutely amazing. So I think you're an amazing person to create that shift. You did mention a few times, I wanted to ask you about this, like you hit rock bottom multiple times. At what point did you say, enough is enough, and I'm going to shift this identity of going from a victim to say, I'm going to take control of my life and I want something better?
You get it's like getting a little, like I said, when you're making the soup, you put a little bit of oregano, a little bit of salt, you taste it, more, a little bit more, and then finally it's done. So when I attribute it to when I made a decision that I was going to, I always say, here's a closed mind, right? Here's an open mind. I was willing to open my mind and say, okay, maybe I could forgive my mom. Forgiveness is huge. It's not for them. I keep drinking the poison, hoping they die over and over. Like I was killing myself because I was so angry and I was so resentful. That day, it was like, okay, I keep getting the same thing over and over. And I know a lot of people, I work with a lot of people that they still keep doing the same thing over and over until they take one step to where I want to feel, it's almost like your desire to feel better has got to be greater than your desire to stay stuck. And that's where you pause. I call it like the bumper in the car. If I didn't have a bumper, I'd crash and burn all the time. My pause is like the bumper. My pause is stop. Do I really want to do this again? God, can you help me? I go to a different source. I can't go to me because I keep producing the same shit over and over. I got 17 thoughts. God's got 5 million ideas. I've got 17. I'm like, no, I'm going to try this one more time. Let me stick it in there. Hold on. Until you got to get so sick and tired of being sick and tired. But the biggest shift happened when I forgave my mother. Because she was my nemesis. She was my power. We all have that one person in our life that we always say, I'm never talking to them again. They fucked my life up. I'm sorry, I'm cussing. The truck driver, sorry. But if you can look over your life and who is that one person? Who is that? Put on a piece of paper. This is some of the stuff I do with the people I coach. I'm like, put on a piece of paper, put their name and your name. I want you to write everything that you fucking hate about that person. Okay, so you look at that stuff. You feel power. It's false. It's an illusion. It's not power. It's killing you. Remember, it's like corroding your insides, that anger, or ulcer, cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer. All those little cancers are all connected to a part of your body that you're trying to push away. Maybe it's someone who molested you and all of a sudden I have breast cancer because you're not taking care of your womanhood. I'm not saying that's it. I'm not, but everything is a part of everything. So it probably contributes to it. I put on the paper how much I hate that person and what they did to me. And then I put on the other side, have I ever done it? Have I ever done it? Am I that person? First thing is, no, I'm not like them. There's the ego. How many people say that? Oh, they're disgusting. Or, no, he's an asshole. I'm not like him. I'm a good man. But then you have to look at, they're no different than you. We're all from the same source. Every human being has a little God shot in them. Boom, boom. We're all created by something other than us. So we all identify. It's learning how to, I call it the right size moment. When I'm looking down at somebody, I can't see them because I'm bigger and better, or maybe I'm a piece of crap and they're God and they're smarter, they're more money, they have more. But once I see them as just as I am, I can right size. I can see them in the eye. And that's where forgiveness takes place. because I see I'm no different than they are. They reacted to me the way I've done it to other people. So now I have some community. I have some connection. And once I can look at them and say, fuck, I don't think they did it to me. They're just reacting. That's who they are. Like a pigeon. A pigeon, what does a pigeon do? Shit on the park bench. It's not looking at you going, oh, there's Daniel. Fire one out, dude. It just shits. That's what a pigeon does. And that's what I did to a lot of people. So I started right sizing. And then I forgave her because I want to be forgiven. I want people to forgive me. I want God to forgive me. So I got to give what I want. And once I got to that, there's my power over my life. There's where I can start saying, wow, I feel I created myself to feel good. Thank you, God, for giving me the courage and the strength to do that. But I created it. Wow. I like feeling good. Maybe who else can I forgive? And then there's just like, you think of the word enlightened, you're in the dark, you're in the light. Think of enlightened. My load's lightened. I can breathe better once I'm not pissed off. Once all of a sudden, and then as a result of that, I'm an energy, right? When I'm negative, all of a sudden, negative shit comes to me because I'm a magnet. I'm bringing it in. Once I enlighten, I lighten my load, I start bringing in things of that nature, that frequency. I start bringing in things of people are happier. I'm like, wow, I just met the greatest friend today. I was at the post office. They were so nice because I'm bringing in what I am. I'm a magnet. And forgiveness creates magnets.
So you talked about now you're helping other people. Why is service, helping other people, become important to you? Because most people I've met in my life, they're kind of selfish. They only care about themselves. Why is it so important to you to help other people?
Oh my God, it's like heroin. It's so hot. It was so good, dude. It's so crazy. I'm not crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing. The lightness of being. There I am. I'm being of service. The lightness, not heavy, of being. There it is. When it's all about me, I got to get the car, get the house. I mean, we live in the same world down here. More and more. Oh, dude, the ego is never satisfied. Is it ever enough? No, because it's not getting fed. I was thinking I was talking to somebody 2 days ago. We were talking about, I'm always in some deep, or I'm so silly. It's like I'm off the wall. But we're talking about the dark energy, the devil energy, the God energy. The devil energy, let's say, says, I will give you everything, all the desires of your heart. You can have more money, more, think of Illuminati, let's say, I'm going to give you more money. You're going to have more fame, but it never satisfies. It's like eating licorice for dinner when I'm starving. I'm so hungry. But when I go to the God enlightened energy and it says, don't do that. It's not that I don't want things. What I want is not my God. So as a result of me not wanting the things, I get the things because they're not that important to me. Because what's more important to me is being giving. Giving is a giving energy other than a vortex. It's like a vacuum. It never stops when you're an ego. More like you go to the store and you get the Porsche. 2 days later, damn thing, the fucking light's not working. And then how many people like that? Oh my God, I got this job and it's now my boss tells me to show up at 9:30. I said 10. So, dude, you have a job. You ungrateful son of a bitch, But if you're going to work because you want to add to someone's life, you want to be of service, how can I add to your life? More work comes to you. So it's that funnel. When I was 16 years old, I had this boyfriend who died of an overdose, but he did say something really profound. And at time I was like, I hate you. He said, Hilary, your funnel is on backwards. I'm like, what are you talking about? If you think of a funnel, It's like a cone. My funnel was like this. And I was looking, when I get there, I'll be happy. When I get there, I'll be happy. When I get there, I had to turn my funnel around and see that my life was a reflection of my insides, not my outside. So if I'm feeling like crap and I'm hateful, everything in my life is going to project that. One thing I loved, I studied Kabbalah for 4 years. I mean, I'm a big seeker, Judaism, Kabbalah, Hindu, name it, So anyways, one of the things they said that your life is like a movie, that what you have on the inside, you're projecting it, and everything that you are is what you see. And that was a hard one to swallow because I was like, that's not true. It's his fault. When you're in a victim mode, it's not true. But once you start going, wow, what can I do? Start cleaning up your insides. Start making peace with your wounds. Start healing yourself. Start saying, I'm so sorry you went through so much. If I go into the kitchen and I break a glass, my old character would go, God damn it. Fucking broke a glass. I can't. And then everything's going wrong. But now I go, oh, oopsie, honey, it's just a glass. It's okay. And then I clean it up. And then I proceed having a good day. But when I'm in that state of anger, then I start creating more things to be mad at, more things to be. Everything begets. It's so simple, Daniel. It's hard. Because what it means is I have to turn my funnel around and see my life opposite in the way I've been living it.
Now that you said like you've coached a lot of people, how do you respond to somebody who says that, she feels like it's too late, or they've gone down this dark path and they've gone too deep and they feel doomed, like there's no hope? How do you respond to people who say that?
Sometimes I say, what do you want me to agree with you and get on your bandwagon? If that's the case, we're going to go buy some fentanyl and let's just fucking end it. Or do you want me to guide you to get to the next indicated step? They're like, I want to feel better. I said, okay, let's change your thoughts. Remember, everything's coming from here. So it's too late. For what? Whose timetable are you on? Yours? Oh, never gonna. You're living in your ego. You're never going to be satisfied. What if I said it's the perfect time? Remember, we're turning our funnel around. No, this is perfect. Oh my God. I have these women that go, oh my God, I got a divorce. No, I got no money and I have to get a job. I'm like, that's amazing. They're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, okay, that's incredible. I don't even listen to them. I'm like, the wonderful thing, your feelings aren't facts. They're just feelings. They're not the facts. If I listen to my feelings, if I feel like crap, I can have a cup of coffee. I am feeling different in 5 minutes. I can't. That's like being on the stock market. Let's go with the facts. You are a seasoned person. That's awesome. Lucky you, you got married. Oh my God, you got through it. Look at how resilient you are. Let's look at the amazing things that came out of it. See, if I focus on shit, I'm going to get shit. If I focus on the good, I'm going to get good. No, I'm reinventing myself. I have had 20 careers. Am I a failure? No. I look at myself differently. I'm adventurous. I'm like creative. I start looking the positive aspects of being able to turn my life around. You're 50, your life is starting over. Awesome. That's great. Let's start somewhere else. Let's build a new foundation, not the old one. Let's not work off the old one. That doesn't work. What is that if you sit and listen to that little kid inside of you, what do you want? I just want to create. Then let's create. Let's find something creative to do. Or I always wanted to be who knows, a bookkeeper. I never tried to be a salesman. Let's go for it. Like, how about if we look at your life as an adventure instead of a sentence? So there's so many ways to get them out of their feelings. And the one thing is feelings are not facts, dude. there's so many people are like, oh, that feels horrible. Okay, do something different. When it says turn the other cheek, it's not turn the other cheek so you beat the shit out of this side. It's turn your attention elsewhere. What else can you do? Oh, I never thought of it like that. That's why it's great to have a coach or somebody that can, when you're in those times. I don't work with people forever. I don't want you to be dependent on me. I want you to learn to rely on you and a new relationship with a power greater than you. I'm going to help you get to a different space, not help you rely on somebody. Because that's what you just came out of, a marriage that you were codependent and relying on him. I don't want you to rely on me. I want you to learn that you've got everything inside of you. God made you, so go tap into that source, not that source, because all that stuff comes and goes. I mean, my looks are going to go, my age, my body, everything's changing. Oh, that's life. Oh, but if I focus on what is working instead of what's not working, my life gets huge.
Do you have any daily practices to help you keep grounded and positive? Do you journal or meditate every day?
Yeah, I do all that stuff. Every day is a little different, but I do have 2 things I do no matter what. So it sounds kind of crazy. Before I wake up in the morning, sometimes my mind's awake, firing synapses. Oh shit, I've got 15,000 things. I don't go anywhere until I have a conversation with God. That's it. It's, when you get to work, you don't start working. You go, what do I got to do today? God, boss, what do I got to do? Or even you, Daniel, you look at your calendar. What am I up? What do I got to do today? I do that with God. I say the Lord's Prayer, which is my thing, but I don't, because that's what most people do. They go, okay, God, I'm good. I'm still in Hilary. And I say it really slow so I get it. Like when it says our daily bread, bring me everything I need to do today, to deal with the day I'm in. And then I put the armor of God on, because we live in a weird world right now. And I'm like, God, put the belt of truth, please. Oh, please help me see everything that's truthful for me, to show me what's real and what's not real, what's false, what's not false, what's fake news, what's real news. I really want to tap in. Please enlighten me. I put the breastplate of righteousness. I go, help me be the woman that you designed me to be. Help me be a good, solid, kind, honest woman. I really take these. I don't leave my bed. I don't open my eyes until they do that. Shield the face. Protect me from the world. Protect me from EMF rays. Protect me from, all this stuff from the chemtrails. Protect me, God. Please put a bubble around me, and then give me the shods of peace. Help me be peaceful and kind. Put the helmet of salvation on. Please protect my thoughts. Please protect my mind. Please be in my thoughts today, God, and help me think about you. How can I be of service? How can I best be of service? And then I get out of bed. And normally 9 out of 10 times I get up and I do a little reading. If my mind's still a little ratty, I'll set a timer for a couple minutes and I just write, get the stuff out, get it out. And then I do first things first. What do I need to do? Coffee. Coffee. And then I look at my day. And I look at my day not as a whole. I do next indicated step. Because if I wake up in fear, I'm gentle with Hilary. I slow down. I always say slow down, turbo. Simmer down, turbo. Because when I'm in fear, I go turbo. Because so I do the self-talking, the soothing, I pray. So those are my little things I do. I suggest with people I work with, find something that works with you. What necessarily works for me may not work with you. But find that time where it's the time that you allow yourself to hear God or hear, some calmness, or you allow that pause. There's that bumper in front of my car. I get that time that I can, all of a sudden I start thinking positive things. And then I say things like, best day ever, because I'm going to create what I think. So I go, today's the best day ever. I used to show up on set all the time, and I used to say, they knew me. That was my favorite thing. I'd get up on set. I was there 14 hours a day, and I had to try to have a good day in the day I was in. And I would do things like walk around and pray and journal, and because you get a little crazy after 14, 16 hours. But I'd show up on set and I'd go, hey guys, guess what? And they're like, it's the best day ever. We know. I try to make my life happy. I lived enough of my life depressed as shit.
So for the people listening to our conversation today, what is it like the one thing you really hope that they get out of that conversation?
That they are not where they come from. They are not what they've done. It's just a part of their soup. And thank God that you've got an incredible soup. And that it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 60 or 70, you could have the day that you want. You can create it right now. If you don't have a relationship with something greater than you, go for it. It's free. And it fills you up. You don't have to buy it at a dealer. You don't have to, be in debt or credit card debt. If you're in debt, it's okay. Okay. The world goes in debt. It's like the stock market. It goes up and it goes down. Goes up and it's down. And the other thing I always have to say is, this too shall pass. It's going to change. Everything changes. That's what weather's about. It preps us for the next season. Okay. It's going to change. I know that you're going to have a better day. I know you're going to have a better moment. I know it. That's truth and facts. Because good news, nothing stays the same. Bad news, nothing stays the same.
So if somebody had a question about a conversation today, or they're interested in your coaching services or whatever services you offer, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
You can write me on info at Hilary Momberger, Momberger, powers.com. You can get me on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn under Hilary Momberger. Yeah, you can go to my website, HilaryMombergerPowers.com, stuff on that. I'm a keynote speaker. I speak at, conferences and retreats and women's stuff. And I just love cracking the egg. And yeah, I do coaching. I have 6 and 12-week programs. And then I align you with you to get up. And I'm always available after I'm done with it just to get you back on it. But, I help build you up instead of depend you on me. So I know you got this. I mean, we all have the same stuff inside of us. We just got to search for it.
Hilary, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story. As I said before, you're extremely brave. And I think you're such an amazing woman from going through so much. Like, you're smiling about here on this podcast. And you're also helping other people. I think that's really remarkable. So I think you're not just amazing, you're remarkable too.
Oh, you're awesome. I'm going to pay you later, Daniel. We're all pretty incredible people. Everybody is. Everybody's got some kind of incredible spark inside of them. And I hope you guys all find it, because there's so much wonderful things in there. I call it my hope chest. There's so much in that chest you haven't even looked at. So be brave today. Open it up.
Was there any final words you'd like to share with the audience before we head off for the day on this podcast?
No, I'm getting my book published. I've changed the name. It's going to be Good Grief. Hollywood Ate My Childhood. I've got a few children's books that I'm looking for publishers for. And, there's a movie on Tubi called Brittany Lost Her Phone out right now. It's such a silly, funny. I still act. I still model. I still do some. I just create. I'm not what I do. I just enjoy what I do.
Wonderful. Again, Hilary, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all this. I'm sure you're going to have you've already had such a huge positive impact on so many people. And
I hope so.
This just adds to everything you do. So thank you for everything that you're doing. It's wonderful.
You're awesome. Thank you for interviewing me. Have a great day, everyone.